Everyone, welcome to Fiaura. Now it's been about 4 weeks since I did one of these videos. I figured I'd do another one since we're very close to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 992 right now. I've been gone all weekend, and there's a reason for that, and we're going to get into that shortly. Now, for those who are new and don't know what this is, and there's like a lot of you, because back when I did the last one of these, I only had like 500 some odd subscribers. Now I have 900. It's only been like 4.5 weeks, and we almost, yeah, anyway, I'm blushing at that. Basically, it's kind of like Mingles with Jingles. I kind of sit here and I talk about various stuff and answer all the questions that you guys have come up with, while at the same time playing replays of guest star tanks in the background. So, what all am I going to talk about today? Well, first I'm going to talk about the contest, 1,000 subscriber special. You guys are awesome. I am waiting until I get my teacher's pay in September to actually do the 1,000 subscriber special, and I'm going to go all out. But in the meantime, if you look in the description below, that means scroll down and open the description, or if you're looking at this through a hyperlink page, you're actually going to have to go to YouTube, but you can click on the YouTube icon and take you straight to this video in order to sign up, because there's a link to a promo simple page. You need to put in your name, your email address, and your YouTube name so I can verify you're a subscriber and you're signed up to win potential stuff. That's kind of how I'm doing it. And when I do the 1,000 subscriber special, I will just be sitting here giving stuff out while I play replays in the background like I'm doing right now, and answering even more questions. I will also be going over how to make a YouTube video, or at least how I do it, so you guys can see how it's done. Kind of a behind the scenes thing for you guys. But in the meantime, that's not really what we're going to be heavily talking about here. Now, from this point on, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I got asked this like 5 times. Fiaura, why do you have PTSD? Because I put it up on Twitter and Facebook that there would be no videos for Saturday or Sunday, nor no live stream, because I was having a PTSD issue. Some people asked what branch I served in. I did not serve in the military. I tried to and was dismissed before I even got through advanced individual training. So I did not actually serve in the military. My military record says not fit for service. Getting past that, I already had PTSD by that time. So this is your trigger warning. This is your chance to skip ahead to something else right now. Now on the screen it tells you where to skip and where to skip to if you're an iPad or a mobile user watching this video, so you know to go to this point in the video if you want to skip this, or if you are actually on a computer, you can just click the annotation and skip this part, because this is my backstory, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, and this is kind of like why I have, issues on random days where I just go, nope, not doing it. So, I'm actually from Alabama. I was in a household with an abusive father who was also an alcoholic, so life sucks. And my adult life begins at age 16. We are actually just before I turned 16 is when it really kind of everything hits the fan. This is about 2.5 weeks before I turned 16. So I am riding home with my father from the spring jamboree football game. And for those who don't know, yes, I'm transgender. If you have a problem with that, then you're at the wrong channel. If you don't have a problem with that, sweet, cool, leave comments. I freely and openly admit this. But as far as anyone is concerned, I'm a woman, and therefore if you have an issue with that, that's kind of your issue. But anyway, I'm riding home from the spring jamboree football game. A game that matters absolutely nothing. It's something you play for fun. You play 1 quarter of a football game with a bunch of teams who you're going to play next year. And my dad is berating me. I missed a block. The quarterback got sacked. At the time, I played offensive guard. I was the lightest offensive lineman in the state of Alabama to make it to the state playoffs, or the state finals, and we lost. But anyway, my dad's berating me, slapping me in the back of the head, just generally being an asshole. This is kind of how he always is, but today was kind of unique because I about had enough of it. And yeah, I have bruises and scars, and not to interrupt the story, but that was kind of funny. But I have bruises and scars all over my body, and from this particular event and the surgery that followed after, I have a lot more. Now, I've told this story a lot. It's what I do in academia a lot, so people understand that as a transgender individual, I've been through hell already. And there's not a lot you could actually do to me that really is going to faze me. We got to what I would consider the house, and my dad proceeds to ask me this question, and I'll never forget these exact words. Are you so much of a pansy you want to be a girl? And I span around and said, what if I do? At the top of my lungs, as loud as I possibly could. That went over kind of like a lead balloon. After sitting there stunned for a moment while the words, what if I do, echoed around the neighborhood, my dad proceeded to hit me in the back of the head as soon as I stepped through the front door. And then proceeded to beat me until he collapsed from exhaustion. Note, I said beat me until he collapsed. Not until I was already on the ground. Not until I looked like I'd had enough. No, until he actually fell on the ground and passed out from exhaustion. I remember tunnel vision. I remember tasting my own blood. I remember laying in my room all night on the floor, watching as the sun slowly replaced the moonlight and the stars and moon moved across my room. My little brother helped me change my clothes. I found out later that the football jersey I'd been wearing was actually thrown away. It was too bloody and damaged to use anymore. And was replaced. We got to the bus stop. The bus driver took one look at me. And we were the first and only stop on the bus route that day. I was driven straight to school where an ambulance was waiting for me. And yeah, I was taken to the hospital. That's the one time I've been around a lot of EMTs over my life. Not because I've necessarily been in the hospital a lot, just because like I made friends with some of them. That's the one time I've ever seen one look horrified. And that's a face I'll never forget. Then again, it's the only face I could really truly recognize was the fact that he kept getting into my face to try to talk to me. The doctors at the hospital voted to issue the Mercy Protocol. For those who don't know what this is an actual thing. Not all hospitals practice it. It's not a universal thing, and there are different ways it's been implemented. But basically, the doctors look at a patient and go, I have no idea how to save you. We're just going to make you comfortable and wait for time of death. It is very rarely done. It is only something done in the most extreme of circumstances. 23 hours later, I was still alive. My breath rate had come up to the point the machine was no longer beeping. And my pulse had slowly risen to something that could be considered, quote-unquote, this person might be alive. So they decided to try to save me. The first thing they did was started removing blood clots because they realized my body was going to clot itself to death. I had literally over 1,000 needles shoved into me over the next 71 hours. I was awake for a lot of the surgeries because they were afraid that if they gave me more painkillers or if they gave me an anesthetic, I would just die, and there would be nothing that they could do about it. And I know none of you are watching the tanks at this point. You're either clicking off the video or you're completely mesmerized by what I'm saying. Sorry, I do like to interrupt the story occasionally and make sure you're all still aware that you're listening and not just zoning out and looking at me like, what? And I do this in academia as well when I talk about this kind of stuff. I don't mind telling my personal story. It really reveals a lot about my life and reveals a lot about the lives of other people like me. Because we don't get the easiest, actually we get one of the hardest hands dealt in our lives and then have to deal with it. So I remember hallucinating a vision of death and listening to this most beautiful thing I'd ever seen tell me, "You're not going to be taken yet," over and over again. And I don't know if it was real or if it was just me absolutely in hallucinatory land, but at that point I kind of relaxed and just endured. I turned 16 in the hospital. My 16th birthday present was I got to get up and get my own breakfast. Now the fun part about that was the nurses didn't tell me that everyone in my school, from the librarian who absolutely adored me because I constantly read and would come in and just check out random books that I hadn't read yet and just start working on them, to the lowliest freshman had written me a get well card. They all knew I was in the hospital. Not all of them knew why I was there. They just knew I was in the hospital. And they were stacked all on top of my breakfast. And I was not allowed to eat said breakfast until such a time as I had read all of the Get Well Soon cards. So I went through them. Now in the state of Alabama, the law can legally do nothing unless a state official, a guardian, or the child actually says something. They could all have their suspicions, they could do an investigation, but unless one of those three things happens as a personal witness to what happened or as the I don't know if it still works the same way. This was over 10 years ago. But basically, after nearly 4 weeks in the hospital, I was just sent home. The two police officers tried to get me to say something, and I said, no, I'm just let it go. And they were mortified when I got out of their police car and went inside. My dad demanded to know where I'd been, and I told him I was in the hospital where he put me. And that my mind hadn't changed. I was going to be a woman, and there was absolutely nothing he could do about it. He went and got a 12 gauge. This is like the worst, most absolute horrific person I could ever imagine being a father. He went and got a 12 gauge and proceeded to try to shoot me. Thankfully, he is a drunk and a terrible shot even when he's sober. He managed to blow out the patio door and put a huge hole in the kitchen wall. He then came around the corner roughly the arm's length away from me. Now, for those who don't know, I did anything I could to stay out of the house. This included martial arts. I am a 3rd degree black belt in Kendo and weapon arts. Football. I was an offensive lineman all through middle school and high school. And wrestling. I'm actually one of the Alabama State Wrestling Champions at 160 pounds. I literally had honed my body into a weapon. I was just really timid to actually, hit somebody or use my body as a weapon. And he didn't end out very well. I planted the shotgun barrel into his jawline, shattering his jaw and mandible, and even broke his brow bone with it. And then threw him over my shoulder into the ground and broke his arm. His right arm, the one that he constantly used to hit me with. At the elbow. and the wrist, and I even took a moment to snap it off the shoulder cuff and dislocate it while I was at it. So most of his arm tendons, one of his bones, and his shoulder had all been destroyed. My stepmother came downstairs loading a pistol, and I didn't ask any questions. I didn't know if she was going to shoot me, if she was going to shoot him, if she was going to try to stop us, what. I just grabbed the gun, unloaded it, and then broke her ribs with the pistol whip. And then I was left with the decision that no 16-year-old person should ever have to live with, or have to make. Do I shoot my father and stepmother? Do I leave them in their agony? Or what am I supposed to do with this situation? I will admit that I was tempted to pick up the shotgun and just end them, and then realized very quickly that that would ruin my life for the rest of my life. I was tempted to just leave them there. And I started to. I went and packed a bag of clothes. I threw it into the 16th birthday present my grandparents had given me, which was a car, and started to leave. And then I went back inside. I unloaded the guns and put them into my stepmother and father's SUV. Drugged the two of them out to the SUV. And took them to the hospital. My dad started to argue with me, and I told him, I'm taking you to the hospital. If you really want to argue, I can go get the shotgun, reload it, and I can, do what you wanted to do to me. He shut up very quickly at that point, especially since, the only thing he could really say was, stop! Because his jaw kind of wasn't working. And yeah, I took them both to the hospital. The same two cops who had dropped me off no less than an hour ago were now taking me back home. They wanted me to press charges so badly, and I refused. Instead, I said I just want them out of my life, a decision I would regret later, and we'll get to that. So I started my adult life with $100, a bag of clothes, and a car. Used to say I still had the car, and then about 2 years ago she finally gave out with 267,000 miles on a Pontiac Grand Am. So I'm not going to argue that that was not an excellent vehicle that went all the way. But yeah. I don't have any of that anymore, not even the bag the clothes were in. I had to find a job at age 16, somehow convince the school to continue to let me work, and try finding a job without a high school diploma, even in like 2003, is nearly impossible. But I eventually got to work for a game store. Not like a video game store, I mean like a game store, like with Risk and chess and like 150 other board games and Warhammer 40k. And I played a lot of these games. I played a lot of them. I will freely admit that I still play some of them, and I'm still always looking for a new gaming group to go play some Dungeons & Dragons with. It was one of the most enjoyable things in my life to do. And then I went to work for General Motors because I needed more money, and I just graduated from high school. All the while, my coaches and teachers and everyone else had pretty much lied about, my home status so I could finish high school and so they could keep me as a student, because I wasn't a bad student. I graduated high school 11th out of 71 in my class with a 3.8 GPA and an advanced academic diploma and a scholarship that I later found out I couldn't keep. See, back in 2005, you couldn't file a special independent clause for the federal aid package, the FAFSA. For those who go to college, you have to fill this out. You can now fill it out independently as a special independent, but because I was not a member of the military, I had to have my parents fill that out, or my legal guardians. Good luck with that. I still tried to go to school. I worked 3 jobs and went to 16 hours of class per semester. And eventually I just passed out. One day I remember going to class, sitting down, and the next thing I know, about 3 days later, I'm waking up in the hospital. Being told that I had literally just passed out from sleep deprivation and gone into a coma. And that I was going to have to do something to reduce the amount of stress and increase the amount of sleep I got. I ended up dropping all 3 jobs and and dropping out of school. I went to work for General Motors in a warehouse. And I actually became very popular there and very good at what I did. And I worked a lot of overtime and kept doing more and more for people. At this point, I'm like 19 years old and I'm on my own and I'm working. And it was the one time in my life I ever actually had a boyfriend. Everyone else since then has been girlfriends. Go figure. I worked for them for nearly 2 years, and then they decided, yeah, that whole transgender thing and the whole we're downsizing all of our departments thing, we don't need you anymore. And I knew why I was fired, and I was the only person who was, quote, downsized in my entire department. So you can do the math on why that was. I was pretty pissed off, but then 2 weeks later I started working for this company called CNS Wholesale, which, as it turns out, supplies all of your food. It's all supplied by one company. It's not even a corporation. It's a sole proprietorship that's owned by a family called CNS. And they supply everyone except for Walmart and Kmart and people who have their own internalized distribution systems that give your groceries. They supply it, period. And I worked my way up from someone who stacked groceries on a pallet to someone who decided where everything in the warehouse went. Basically, I had control over $24 billion of food. And then I eventually became the warehouse manager, and I got promoted again. And then after a issue with the union, which was their contract, came up. Now, during this time, I'd come out to my boss's transgender, I transitioned on the job, and this is in a Southern Baptist workplace in bumfuck nowhere, Birmingham, Alabama. You can imagine how much of a lead balloon I just basically threw over my head. So I proceeded to become the warehouse manager, and the union was very unhappy, and the union had tried to get me fired 3 separate times. I was supposed to be a member of the union. They were supposed to fight for my job, and they were constantly trying to get me fired. So their contract came up, and I stiffed them really hard. I basically went to HR and got 3 resumes for every single union position in the warehouse. Walked into their headquarters, because they wouldn't come and meet me in my office. They made me come to their headquarters in downtown Birmingham and meet with them, and I had to pay for parking and everything. They wouldn't even validate it. So I brought all of these resumes in, stacked them on the table, put the contract on the table, and told them, you will sign this contract, or here's 3 people for every person employed at my warehouse that I can replace you guys with, and we will be a non-union facility by the end of the month. You have until the end of the month when your contract is up. Once it goes up, either you have signed this or none of you have jobs. And walked out. My boss was flipping out. The regional manager called me 7 times that week, and I got so many emails. They broke into my office, they broke into my apartment, they spiked my tires. I mean, the list goes on of all the stuff that they did to try to get me to back down. And then 30 minutes before they all lost their jobs, I got a phone call from the HR director. They signed it, they signed it, they signed it. You are in so much trouble with them and so much heaven with the boss right now. A week later, before the union could really, come after me, so to speak, I got a call from the head of the company and said, how do you like Maryland. And I went, what do you mean? Well, we were considering transferring you to the Maryland region, considering what you just did for the union contract and making you into a regional manager. And I said, I'm game. Let's go. So April 1st, April Fool's Day. Go figure. I was officially working in Maryland as a regional manager with control of 4 warehouses, including the fact that I went over the next month through security clearance, because those warehouses supplied nuclear missile bases on the East Coast, and I had to know stuff about them, like where they are and what types of foods we could send there, and I had to be able to go onto the base and meet with their supply officer and that kind of thing. So yeah, I had security clearance for the longest time. I think it just finally expired. But I spent almost 4.5 months working in Maryland, and then during a board meeting, they decided they were going to close one region and split it off between other regional managers. Guess which region it was? Pretty much it came down to, I didn't play golf with the boss because he liked to play golf, and I don't like golf. Why would I go play golf? Oh, right, because I need to make those connections with my boss. Well, I don't want to do it that way. I want my work to show what I do. So I didn't play the corporate fiddle well enough, apparently. I was the only person under the age of 40 in the boardroom. I was 23 at the time. 23. In a boardroom of a multi-billion-dollar company. And I was the only person in that boardroom who had boobs. Most people in the boardroom didn't even know I was transgender. They just assumed I was a woman. Yeah, you can imagine how well this turned out. However, the company didn't realize that apparently forgot that you can't move someone 1,000 miles and not give them a job for at least 2 years unless they screw up. So when they came to tell me the bad news, I said, well, you have made me a misplaced worker, which is illegal. You can either A, give me a severance package that is adequate, or B, there will be a lawyer in my office before the end of the day, because you said I have until the end of the day before I have to leave. 20 minutes later, they came running in there with a severance package that was going to pay me for the next 4.5 years. What did I do with said severance package? I paid for my college. Or, well, I paid my living expenses while I went to college. I went to University of Delaware, starting off as a language major. Had a incident in which I had a minor aneurysm, not enough to actually cause long-term problems, but enough to cause short-term problems, like language center problems. So I then had to reconsider my major, and I became a human sexuality psychology major, and also women and gender studies. Basically, I study 2 fields now in graduate school. The company no longer pays me, so it's kind of hard to make a living sometimes, but I study cyber psychology, the psychology of people on the internet, basically. How it changes, how it affects us, what it does to us as human beings to interact in an environment in which we have limited to no long-term consequences. And I study human sexuality, primarily focused in transgender theory and applications of how gender fluidity changes our environment and our society. So that's what I do now. I'm a graduate student at Rutgers. It's the only school that's recognized as a AAA research institution in the United States, and it's trying to become a sports college, which is kind of annoying to me. And everyone in my department agrees it should not be focused on sports. Research is what we're known for. We should stick with the research. It's what the government gives us lots of funding for. Sports, yes, there's big money in sports, fair enough, but why should we resort to a corporate environment when we don't need to? We have plenty of money from the United States government as a college to continue to do research. I am personally not a fan of resorting to sports instead, but if it's the direction they start going, it's the direction they start going. Anyway, I proceeded to do a lot of research. I've done a lot of research. I've done over 100 speakings. So this is not the first time I've told this story. And I've answered every single question asked of me at these speakings, even by hecklers. And yes, I do get hecklers in real life as I do on Facebook. You're not the first people to do it. Don't think that you're going to be the last YouTubers. So you can try. I don't promise that you'll succeed in actually doing anything other than being a mild irritation and looking foolish when I'm done. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, just ate with you guys. But yeah, that's what happened. That's where I am now. I'm making videos for you guys. I am doing everything in my power to make these videos rather unique and interesting for you guys. And this is one of the unique things that comes up after I do a particularly big Raw Tankery episode, is I come back and I do a Yakking with Fiaura episode. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you guys in this episode, yeah, that's it. That's the end of my story as far as this point. And if you guys want to ask questions, go right ahead. I will answer all of them that you could possibly wonder. I've answered everything from transgender questions to academia questions to corporate questions to whatever else you want to ask. I'll pretty much answer. But the other thing I want to go over with you guys is how I make a video. Now this is quite a unique experience because a lot of YouTubers don't show this. They don't show how an actual video gets put together. And for you guys, this time, I'm actually gonna, go through the process of showing you guys how I make a video. Assuming I can... Okay, where did you save? So what we have here is Premiere Pro. This is the editing software I use. Open recent project. Raw Tankery. Because I kept all the stuff from this. So this is the editing process. This is what I use to edit. Now it took a bunch of edits to splice together my basic intro. Basically I had to constantly change the zoom. Yeah. At various parts during the video in order to get the shot that I wanted. This little 25-second clip took about 22 minutes to edit and put together and get just perfect with the camera motions and everything. This, of course, is the initial commentary section that you guys saw and all of the contest sign-up stuff, and then we get into the actual Raw Tankery itself. These little text bits are individual titles that I create that I come up here and I hit add new title and have to go through, and I have to do this for every single one of these is an individual title to get it just right and then position it, and I use this little scroll bar so that I can extend or decrease to exactly where I want. So once I've added all of these little tank clips, which I record the tank clips that have no picture of me, i.e. there's no thumbnail that you guys see me talking in Fraps. Because Fraps is still an excellent program for doing that, and it's the only program I know of that will actually overlay everything, even Windows, in order to get recording done. And once I've recorded it in Fraps, I decide the order they're going to go in and import all of them in here so you guys can see each and every one of these individual little things is right here on the lower left side down here. They're all here. Every single little bit of this video's clips are all here. The other reason there's no Raw Tankery video today, by the way, is because this long Raw Tankery video, almost 30 minutes long, pretty much emptied the file because I wanted to get it empty just before the update in case they drop 9.10 anytime soon. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. And then I have to go in and add all the music, and some of the music you guys have commented is copyrighted. Okay, fair enough. Some of it is potentially copyrighted, but what I've done is the same thing that a lot of YouTubers do. I modify it extremely heavily in order to create a cover version. So I speed it up, I change the pitch, usually at least 2 entire pitch frames. So if it's a B minor, I change it to a D minor or an A major. I change it so far that you can totally not tell it's the same music and you couldn't claim it. Now it might have the same tune, but legally that does not make it the same song. The same song only comes into play if it's actually still the same music, and it has to match the music. The court determination is it has to match the music you're using within 22 degrees, 22%. So long as I've made sure that it's not 22, that it's at least 22% different, it's perfectly usable. The other thing I do is I get a lot of songs from somewhere else that I'm about to show you guys. It is called the YouTube Free Audio Library. If you're planning on using music on your videos and you don't know how to modify music, this is your best bet. You can pick a genre, you can play it and actually hear it beforehand. As a matter of fact, we'll get out one of my... let's see if we can find one of the ones I use quite a lot here. Classical, because I think there is... But yeah, it's this huge audio library that just has everything in it. Actually, I think this is... No, that's not it. My end theme song that you guys hear at the end of every video is actually from this free audio library. And I might hold a contest one day that if someone can find it in the free audio library and tell me which one it is, I will actually give something away. So you might want to go start looking at it. But like From Russia with Love, the one you guys always hear with the KV, it's right there. Free audio library. But that's how I get a lot of my music, in the few sections that are actual copyrighted music, which let's find the AMX, because I know the AMX is the copyrighted music that is actually the Jaws theme, which is a copyrighted song, but because of how heavily modified it is, they cannot it's legally a cover song just with the same tune, because apparently you can't copyright tunes, which is kind of, you know, what I was hoping would be the case, and you actually can't. So there's Boris. Hey Boris. Here we go. Now you can tell that this is very similar to the Jaws theme music, but you can also tell it's significantly sped up and at a different pitch. Now the reason the video is playing so slow in the background is because this is an uncompiled video, as the editor is having to literally compile this video as it plays, which is extremely difficult for a computer to pull off. So once all this is done, I hit export media, and it brings up this sequence, and I tell it export the entire sequence. H224 is kind of the format you want, and I have to scroll down here all the way down to YouTube 1080p HD. Q. And then it exports it to this other program. Now this is what your patronage, and if you don't know what patronage is, it means you guys actually give a little bit of money every month. I think right now it's like $35 between the 8 couple of people, and those people who do give, you get an extra entry into my contest automatically. So if you want your extra entry, go ahead, but this is half of your patronage right now. This costs $20 a month to use this program, because Adobe won't let me buy the program anymore. I actually have to pay for a service. But to use this program. Now from here I would hit start, but then everything that we're doing in this video is just going to get completely interrupted, because this literally will consume, there's no way to limit how much of your CPU this uses. So once I hit this, my computer's useless, and this video took about 3 hours to compile. So I usually hit that when I go to bed. The end result, of course, being That's the video we're recording right now. The end result, of course, being the raw tankery video 20 that you guys saw on YouTube, which I will bring up right now. So all of this is a lot of care, effort, and people are kind of surprised at how much I go through to get these videos out, and a lot of people do go through a lot. So this little 30-minute video here required 35 minutes to record. That's just the actual recording time. That's not the actual time of getting the scene set up, getting all the effects, reshoots, and everything. I'd say took an hour and some change to get the recording done. It then took me 3 hours to get the editing done. And then another 3 hours, which at that point I went to bed and let it do it on its own, to do the editing. And then about an hour and a half to upload. And it takes up about 22 gigabytes on my computer. Yeah. So these videos take a lot of effort that you guys don't see or realize or know about. So I think that's everything for right now on Yakking with Fiaura. If you have questions, put them in the comments. I'll answer them. I may answer them in a future video. I may just answer them as a comment. I'm probably going to do both. But if you want to ask me anything, now's your chance, because in 3 weeks' time, I'm doing the 1,000 subscriber special, because I know we're going to be over 1,000, period, end of story. Only 8 more to go. I had a PTSD episode this weekend, so there were no videos. I didn't play any tanks. I didn't do any active advertising, which was where a lot of you were from. A lot of you are from my active advertising that I do during matches. And I didn't do any of that this weekend, and I still went from 980 to 992 right now when I'm recording this video. As a matter of fact, have we lost or gained anybody since I started recording this video? No, still sitting at 992. See, this is a screen I can see that you guys can't. I can actually see the active subscribers screen. That number usually only updates once every 12 hours, but this number updates immediately, but I'm the only one who can see it. But that's everything for you guys for right now. Please ask questions, leave comments, let me know stuff. It would be nice. In the meantime, this is Fiaura officially signing out for right now. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys can expect to see World of Tanks tomorrow. You can expect to see Alien Isolation tomorrow. And you can expect to possibly see a League match later this week. As well as more guest star videos. I'm going to be trying to process out as many guest star tanks as I possibly can this week as well. Again, I apologize for having to take 2 days off, but I needed some time to recover. I had a problem, and it happens. It's the first time I've actually had it happen in like 4 months. The last time I can actually look, because I recorded a video to let you guys know that I wasn't going to be on. It's been a while. Holy crap. Yeah, it's been a long time. Month. I was sick. The last time I actually had a PTSD problem was 3 months ago. I had a day where I couldn't do anything. 3 months ago. Actually, we can check the exact date right now. April 11th. Almost 4 months ago to the day. But in the meantime, this is Fiaura officially signing out for right now. Leave your comments. Ask your questions. Go ahead. Anything's fair game. Now, if it's rude, obnoxious, or just straight up trolling, I might remove it. But that's everything, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this Yakking with Fiaura episode, and hope to see you guys in a month's time when I do the 1,000 plus whatever's extra there subscriber special. But see you later, guys. Bye-bye. Thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, why not click the like button? It would really help the channel and let me know that you're enjoying my content. Want to see more content? There's a subscribe icon right there, so you know when I put up videos. I would appreciate it also if you help grow this channel's community. So share this with your friends, or just put it up on Facebook. Want to help Fiaura out directly? There are 3 ways you can do this. One is the patronage page, which all the investment towards I put right back into the channel through contests and paying for things like video editing software. Then there are 2 ways to support the channel directly. One is click the ads that YouTube shows you. This is how YouTube pays its content creators, by your clicks on those advertisements. The other and last way to support the channel is through fan funding that is now available through Fiaura's channel page. If you happen to have an extra $1 or 2, it would really let Fiaura know that her videos mean something to you. Anyway, please check out these other videos here on the end page collage, and as always, I will see you on the battlefield or in the next video. Till then, this is Fiaura signing out.